The Lexus UX, it's a funky looking thing, isn't it? It's the first Lexus to be constructed using the new global architecture, otherwise known as the GAC platform. That's a fancy way of saying it uses the same basic components as a Toyota Corolla. Though that's no bad thing. Lexus exclaims that this UX250 has a lightweight yet super rigid structure that allows it to have exemplary handling agility and ride comfort, whilst having a distinctive driving character. We'll see about that one, shall we? My name's Tom, and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. We're on Instagram, so if you want to see behind the scenes footage, weekly updates, and some of the stuff we've got for sale, click the link in the description below. Okay, the engine in usual Lexus guise, it's a full-time hybrid system. This is the 4th generation self-charging system, meaning it should also be more efficient and refined than ever. In this 250, overall output is 181 horsepower. That power goes through to the front wheels only and means 0 to 60 is over and done with in 8.5 seconds. Not bad, but what about real-world acceleration? Let's do the 30 to 70 sprint. Well, it's actually not bad at all. The eCVT gearbox does a great job of utilising the power, and that means this UX250 managed a time of 7.6 seconds. That's as fast as a BMW 420i and an Audi A3 35 TFSI. So yeah, overall a cracking car for daily driving. Where this Lexus definitely blows away the competition though is on the interior and its outright quality. Rarely do I find a modern car that feels this solid these days. Everything feels luxurious and just put together so well, and that's unfortunate because there's also one major weakness. Well, depending on how tech savvy you are, that is. Can you guess what it is? Yeah, it's the infotainment. Sadly, it still suffers from some interesting design choices that make it just a bit of a pain to use unless you're an avid gamer like me. There are some really cool and genuinely useful design choices in there though, like the double hinge center console and very neat knurled knobs for the drive modes and traction control. Then the rear, it's just about passable for adults under 6 foot, which when you consider this is a compact SUV, that's not a bad thing at all. You also get an armrest with cup holders and some climate vents and USB-C ports. Now, where this Lexus gets weird is the boot. As the second you open it, you realise that it seems to be missing, well, quite a lot of space. You can lower the boot floor and utilise the little storage bins, but it's still quite a small amount of room even when compared to something like a VW Golf. Thankfully, you still get a flat load floor though, so although not massive, it can be well used. Okay, let's get on the road and see if Lexus is telling porkies about this UX's distinctive driving character. Oh, isn't this a nice experience? This is the one advantage of Lexus's hybrid system is when it is in EV mode, it is absolutely silent. However, I have noticed once the engine starts, it kind of has this high revving like tendency for some reason, and it's not super intrusive, but if you give it like half throttle, it can be a little bit intrusive, but I think that's just because you're used to it running in electric mode most of the time. Going over speed bumps, it's fairly well damped. For a small car, it's really well damped. It's, you know, kind of controls the body well, but it's not sporty. Even though this is an F-Sport car, this is definitely more on the comfort side of things. It's definitely not a car for going around corners quickly, and I can already tell that. But already, I can tell what it is good at is just the mundane style of driving. This is where Lexus is always really good. You've got light, predictable, easy to use steering, throttle, brake pedal, really easy to modulate. Even though you've got a regen braking system in this, it just feels like a normal brake pedal to me, which is really nice. Like a lot of other systems like the BMW hybrids, they can feel quite grabby in their earlier cars. Lexus has just had years to master that bite point, and it really shows. It's just such an easy, lovely car to live with and to drive. Talking about living with it, I am going to be doing a living with episode on this Lexus, so stay tuned if you want to see what that's like, where we kind of get accustomed to the size of the boot, because I know it's not massive, and I would like to see what it's like on a daily basis actually. In terms of parking, now this is where it's a little bit odd, because it is a fairly small car, like fundamentally it's not that large, but the viewpoints are not brilliant. So out the back, it's a very small window, you've got huge C-pillars, which you can't really see out of all that well. The reverse camera is very fisheye, which, I don't know, some people find it easy to use. I find it really difficult to get accustomed to where everything is. It's a high refresh rate, but it's quite a low resolution, and it's very dark as well. It's one of those things, I think you just have to drive it a lot to get used to it. There's plenty of steering angle, and the steering's nice and light when you're manoeuvring at low speeds. But again, it just feels a lot bigger than it needs to be, because it's hard to see out of, really. Once you're in a space though, I mean, it's a small car, so it's easy to get in and out of. I think once I'm used to it, it'll be alright. But it's that getting used to it phase that is quite difficult. But seating position is, it's perfection. The seats are just a masterclass in comfort. You sit in them and it's just like the car is perfectly shaped to you already. It really is brilliant. Anyway, half throttle coming out of a junction. You've got the electric motor which spins the front wheels, and then the petrol engine comes in as well. And it's not drama free, as you just heard. The tyres were spinning quite a lot, and the engine kind of revs up to this very fizzy noise. And yeah, you have to drive this thing smoothly to get the most out of it, because as soon as you put your foot down, it doesn't fall apart, but it's very like buzzy, which is not what you want from your luxury Lexus. Anyway, in terms of MPG, you can get a maximum of 62 on the motorway, which I believe, because Lexuses are very efficient. This powertrain is just crazy for driving around town and even on the motorway. But realistically, you're probably looking at like mid-50s to low 50s. So we are going to do a little handling test and then get on the motorway and see what kind of MPG we can get. Okay, this is where Lexus has made some improvements. So sport mode, click of a button, traction. Why are you not turning off? Turn off. I think you have to be stationary to turn the traction control off. Oh well, we'll do that later then. What we do also have is active sound control, which I'm going to turn on and see what kind of sound they've created for this car. And of course you've got like a fake gearbox, which kind of sounds a bit interesting. But foot down. Ooh, interesting noises. It's like Gran Turismo. Okay, that active sound control is awful. That really is terrible. So if you did notice, it basically made a gear change sound when on the rev counter I was sitting at about 4,000 revs, not changing gears. Let's see if it does it again. Okay, that was more accurate. When it works, it sounds okay. I mean, it's so obviously fake though. It's a bit of fun, really. Anyway, let's turn that tripe off. Let's get back. In fact, let's go for eco mode and chill out, because this is what you're going to do most of the time in your Lexus. Let me just check that I can actually turn the traction control off as well. Traction control turned off. So you need to be below a certain speed, don't you? Okay, and then if I hold it down, it should turn everything off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we can do that later. For now, let's chill out. Right then, what's it like coming onto the motorway if I whack my foot down? That's 40, that's 50. 60, 70. That's really not bad. See, you'd think it's slow because the power does suggest it's, you know, not the fastest thing in the world. But as you can see, it's really not that bad. So we set the cruise control to 70 miles an hour. Adaptive cruise is on, lane assist is on. Will it change lanes for me? Not really, but I mean, it kind of guides you into the next lane, which is pretty good. And then you can set your distance here, so you can set it to like a fairly close distance, which is kind of what you want in the UK. As you can see, a lot of people do a lot of like tailgating, so you don't really want to leave too big of a gap, otherwise people just start filling that gap. But yeah, I mean, it does all the steering for you, keeps you at a safe distance, and it keeps you in the middle of the lane as well. It's a really decent system. It doesn't bounce you in between the lane markers. Just does a great job. So yeah, once you're on the motorway, you just whack your adaptive cruise on and chill out, really. You don't really need to do much more than that. And that's where the Lexus is really good. It just relaxes you. It's like the Japanese Audi, is the way I describe it. And see, the following distance is not too close, but it's close enough that people aren't filling the gap, which is exactly what you want, really. Anyway, let's do about 15 to 16 miles on the motorway and see what MPG we get. Hopefully it's above 50. Let's see how the adaptive cruise control works around the corner. So I'm not touching the pedals at all now, so it's slowing me down. Yeah, seems to be tracking the car in front well. Okay, get into the lane. Seeing the next car in front, I think. Okay, now it doesn't see a car, but it's going to sense that I'm turning, and it does allow you to get up to a pretty decent speed before it starts slowing you down again. Yeah, it seems to work quite well, actually. Then will it sense the side of the road? Oh yeah, it does. It's not super confidence inspiring with bits that don't have a lane marker, but it does seem to work. Yeah, it does see the side of the road. It's pretty neat. Right, let's crack So this is exactly where this Lexus is perfect. Sitting in traffic on the M25. I've got the adaptive cruise control on, the car's steering for me. It's comfortable, it's quiet, even up to 70 miles an hour. Inside the cabin, there's very little road noise, almost zero wind noise. It's just such a perfect road trip car, especially for the UK, because a lot of the time you're sitting in stuff like this, which in a car without adaptive cruise control and lane assist is no fun at all, I'll tell you that. But yeah, you've got a good sound system as well, and it's just quiet, it's calm and relaxing. And if you want a car like that, this is your perfect mini SUV already. It is just brilliant. Right, hopefully the traffic clears up and we can get a more accurate MPG figure. Currently sitting at 47.2 though in traffic, so we're speeding up and slowing down quite a lot. I wonder what happens actually if you never touch the steering wheel. So let's take our hands, just hover them over the wheel. So I'm still in control technically. See how long it gives me. Seems like a pretty long time. Okay, it's telling me to hold the wheel now, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to see what it does. Oh, it just goes steering assist unavailable. So if you did have a medical emergency, eventually it would just kind of let you drift into another lane. Not the best system then, but it's good enough for daily driving. Right, nearly done on the motorway now. Thankfully, traffic has subsided a little bit, and we're nearly at 50 miles per gallon. A couple more miles to go. Let's see what our final figure is. Oh, look at that. We're currently averaging 52.8 miles per gallon, which, for a car like this, is pretty decent, especially considering we were sitting in traffic for a lot of that. So if we got the best possible run, we might have gotten like 55 to 58. But keep in mind, this Lexus will do that 52 miles per gallon figure everywhere. So it's not just on the motorway that you're going to get that figure. You'll get it driving around town and just driving through traffic like this as well. And that's where it does save you a lot of money. So if you do live in a city like London, then the Lexus, especially this one, will save you a lot of money at the pumps because you're not sitting in stop-start traffic running the engine constantly. You're mainly using that electric motor. Anyway, let's get onto a B road and see how this little Lexus handles. Doesn't need to be necessarily fun, but it does need to be predictable and safe. So let's go and see what it's like now. Okay, gearbox is in sports, car is in sports, traction control is as off as I can get it. Keeps giving me a warning though, which is kind of annoying. And I've got the active sound control on because now if I use the gear paddles to shift, it sounds like I'm actually changing gears, which is pretty cool. Anyway, let's see how this little thing handles. The front end, will it wash wide? We've got people in the way. People don't know where they're going. Let's go around again. Okay. Oh, bit of lift off oversteer. Okay, foot down, out the corner. Ooh, there's definitely not a diff. Change gear, come on. Dash has gone red and we're up to 70. Nice. And it's weird because like the powertrain is really not that sporty, unfortunately, but the gear paddles, the shift feel is really nice. Brakes are pretty good, fairly predictable. It does kind of like fake upshift for you for some reason. I do wish I just had a little bit more control over what the car was doing. That would be really nice. Steering feel is fine. It's nothing really to write home about. It's not loose, it's just a bit like spongy, like there's not a huge amount of feel in it. How fast can we go around here? It's like driving a bee. That's all it does, it's just They also really don't like it when you turn the traction control off. Like, even if I acknowledge that notification, it'll come back again within like 5 seconds. Yeah, there you go. Let's go around again. Now remember, this isn't really supposed to be fun, it just needs to be safe. And what happens if I deliberately understeer it? Yeah. I mean, it's predictable. And not being funny, this is a setting you're never really going to use driving this car. Like, even if I own this car, I'm never really going to do this. I just want to see what it does. But technically, it's got the fastest gear shifts ever. Ooh. It beeps at you to let you know you can't downshift too much. It's a nice car to get a hustle on it. I just wish it would stop doing that silly hybrid stuff. Because if you're mid-corner and you lift off, it'll turn the engine off, which is not really what I want. I want it to just be a little bit more consistent if I'm in sports mode. Right, let's carry a little bit more speed around here. Yeah, there's enough grip. And that active sound control is quite interesting. So if I turn this off, and then, yeah, There's just no noise then. It does artificially downshift though, still. You can just about hear it. Quite interesting. Alright, come on people. Okay, let's go. From a standstill, it gets up to like 30 miles an hour quite quickly. Is it fun? I wouldn't say it would blow my socks off, but it's not boring, like it's quite charming. It's like a little angry bee, especially with this active sound control on. So yeah, it's predictable, it's safe, it's, you know, enjoyable to drive. I'd say it's like satisfying. I wouldn't say it was fun, you know, it's not a really dynamic chassis. But yeah, you can neutralise understeer with a little bit of lift off throttle. It's just safe, predictable. That's exactly what you want out of a car like this, really. Never does anything that kind of scares you. It's not like a BMW M4 in MDM mode. Anyway, let's take this thing down a little B road and see if it's still like a bee there. Okay, let's test out the suspension, see if it can control the body. A lot of wheel spin from the front there. That's what happens when you have electric motors, you just have so much torque. And yeah, I can't carry huge amounts of speed. But look at that, it can still get up to the national speed limit. Deals with bumps fairly well. Chuck it around. Didn't panic. It's a little bit wallowy. Yeah, brakes could do with a bit of help there. Wheels spinning at 30 miles an hour. Interesting. Right, let's spin us round. Can we make 60 before the corner? Probably not. That's 50. I'm pulling it there. Ooh, bit of understeer. Look at it go! Very nice. Yeah, I mean, you can place it on the road pretty much where you want it. Fairly predictable, fairly easy to drive. Has a tendency to understeer fairly quickly. But it is wet today, so I'll give it a little bit of leeway. You can absolutely shred the inside tyre on this thing. Wee, a bit of torque steer there. Bit of wheel spin. Oh yes. I wonder what happens actually if I turn the traction control on and then just whack us in normal and do that same little route again. Okay, let's see what it's like if I try and get a hustle on just in normal. This is the setting you're going to use every day. Yeah, immediately reins the traction in. Suspension's still doing a pretty good job. Electric motor gives you a nice amount of torque. Oh, look at that, it deals with this button really well actually. Yeah, it never panics. Sometimes traction control systems can really panic when they go over bumps like that. Yeah, if you need to get a move on, you certainly can. School run can be done quickly. Right, let me digest my thoughts and I'll come back to you guys with a conclusion then. Well, it's certainly capable, safe, and even a little quirky. Distinctive though? Not really. It's similar to something like a high-end Audi, although that's no bad thing at all. In fact, it's a very good thing. It's exactly what it should be: safe, predictable, reliable, and just outright well built. For a small family of 3 or even 4 at a push, this Lexus UX would be a fantastic choice. Anyway, as always, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a like, and why not subscribe, as not only can you see more content like this, you can see everything we have for sale, which includes this absolutely stunning Lexus. My name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.